I step into the vast ballroom of the Evergreen Resort and instantly feel the weight of regret pressing down on me. Crystal chandeliers scatter light like shards of diamond across the polished marble, and the air hums with quiet conversations that carry the unmistakable undertone of wealth and status. Michael's hand finds the curve of my back, his touch steady, grounding me with a gentle reassurance that I desperately need in this moment. "Breathe," he murmurs softly, his voice laced with the calm authority of a surgeon who has faced countless storms in sterile operating rooms. His sharp eyes study me as if I were another case under his care, reminding me that we earned the right to stand in this place. Leo fidgets beside us, tugging insistently at the stiff bow tie around his neck. "Mom, this thing is strangling me," he complains, his patience already fading despite being only 6 years old. I crouch down, loosening the knot with practiced ease and a smile. "Just for a little while, buddy. Remember our deal: good behavior now, reward later." The crowd shifts, and through the sea of elegant gowns and tailored suits, my breath halts. A figure stands just beyond the reception line, her profile etched in memory as if no time has passed. The slight tilt of her head, the forward lean when she laughs, it all floods back in a rush, though I have not seen it for over 11 years. My heart pounds violently as the bride turns, her champagne flute lifted high in a toast. Our eyes meet across the glittering room. "Grace, my sister." The glass in my hand trembles, betraying the earthquake inside me. Daniel Brooks, the name had been printed plainly on the invitation, but it meant nothing to me then. I never connected the dots. I assumed Grace would still sign her name with our family's, Collins. Her sharp intake of breath slices through the noise like a blade through silk. Conversations falter. Heads pivot toward us. The music continues, but it feels like the entire room has folded into silence around us. Behind Grace, our mother's face drains of all color before blooming red with fury. Our father takes a deliberate step, planting himself in front of her, the shield he has always been, the wall between her and me since childhood. "What are you doing here?" Mother hisses, her words sharp enough to draw blood, and guests nearby glance at us with raised brows. The old shame surges, threatening to choke me. For a fleeting second, I am 21 again, standing in the rain with nothing but a battered suitcase cast out into the night. But Michael steps forward, his voice firm yet dignified. "My wife is here as a guest. She is the CEO of Medova. We were invited personally by the groom." The name Medova ripples through the crowd of doctors like an electric current. I catch the whispers, see the flicker of recognition. CEO. The word stings the air, reshaping the way they look at me. A woman in a deep burgundy gown leans toward her companion, whispering with awe, "That's Amelia Collins." My father's words from long ago echo like thunder in my mind. "If you are too ungrateful to work at the clinic, then don't come back." The memory of a slamming door, as final as a gavel strike, had once defined me. But tonight I stand taller, clothed not in fear, but in Valentino. The rain-soaked girl I used to be is gone. In her place stands a woman who carved her own future from jagged stone, who refused to vanish. "Doctor," Daniel Brooks approaches, his brow furrowed, his gaze darting between Grace's pale face and my steady expression. "You know the CEO of Medova?" He asks my parents, then shifts toward me, his voice tinged with curiosity. "We've been trying to secure a partnership with them for months." He speaks of innovation, of how our patient monitoring system is transforming post-surgical care. Grace forces a smile, but it cracks at the edges. Mother and father exchange frantic glances, their panic barely contained. Around us, murmurs swell, a tide of speculation and intrigue. I could shatter their carefully woven lies. I could reveal the 11 years of betrayal, the stories they told about me, that I had failed, that I was reckless, that they had siphoned my tuition money for Grace's dreams. The truth is mine to unleash. Yet, I choose restraint. "Hello, Grace. Congratulations." My words are simple, but they strike with the weight of thunder. Grace recoils as if I had shouted. Michael's hand presses once again at the small of my back, a silent please stay or leave. Leo tugs at my dress hem, his innocent voice cutting through the storm. Mom? Is that lady in the white dress your friend? Daniel's expression sharpens, suspicion curling at the edges of his smile. His eyes dart between his new wife and me, the stranger who clearly isn't a stranger at all. Grace, he says slowly, his voice laced with doubt. I thought you told me your sister was. His words trail off, hanging like a noose in the air. Grace's eyes flick wildly between her husband and our parents. Desperation etched across her face. For the first time in my life, I watch her struggle for words. Have you ever entered a room and instantly wished you hadn't? The safer path would be to gather my family and slip away, to let her bask in her perfect illusion, but regret often masquerades as fear, and I buried my fear long ago. And this, Daniel announces proudly, sliding his arm around Grace's waist, is my wife. A Stanford graduate, the brilliant mind managing her family's medical practice in Vermont. I stand a mere 10 feet away, champagne untouched, watching my sister smile too brightly, her pearl earrings glinting under the lights as if mocking the shadows between us. A familiar gesture catches my eye, one I remember all too well from our childhood, the subtle tell she always gave when she was about to bend the truth. Grace lifts her chin, her voice perfectly modulated between pride and practiced humility. The Collins Clinic has been serving this community for over 30 years. We specialize in family medicine, with an added focus on geriatric care. Michael's touch at my elbow draws my attention to the voices weaving around us, redirecting me gently toward the conversation unfolding nearby. A refined woman with silver hair, dressed immaculately in a tailored pantsuit, studies the name badge pinned neatly to my gown. Her eyes widen as she reads aloud. Medova. Then recognition dawns. You're Amelia Collins. I attended your presentation at last month's medical summit. It was nothing short of groundbreaking. The patient monitoring system you designed is transforming recovery protocols after surgery across 3 states. I tilt my head with a small smile. 4, actually. We finalized an agreement with Northwestern's hospital network just last week. Across the crowded room, Grace stumbles through a hesitant answer to a question about platelet therapy. The physician addressing her narrows his eyes, then exchanges a telling glance with his colleague. I thought Stanford's program had shifted away from that methodology 3 years ago, he remarks. Grace laughs, but the sound rings too high, too strained. Well, you know how academia works. Some professors cling to traditional methods longer than others. Her excuse hangs awkwardly, brittle as glass. Daniel's features shift almost imperceptibly, his eyes tighten, and his arm loosens slightly from around Grace's waist. He is beginning to notice the cracks. Then a voice slices through the air behind me. Amelia. My father. 11 years older, but his tone carries the same authority it once held when I was a girl pressed into answering phones at the clinic while Grace practiced piano without interruption. You need to leave, he commands, stepping forward, erecting himself as a wall between me and the rest of the ballroom. You're ruining Grace's day. Michael bristles beside me, but I still his anger with a calming hand on his arm. My voice is low but unwavering. I was invited by Daniel himself. Perhaps you'd like to explain why that troubles you. Father's face reddens, fury rising beneath the polished veneer of his expensive suit. The clothing cannot disguise the small-town doctor beneath, a man whose authority extends no further than the walls of his practice. Don't act innocent. He spits. You appear here flaunting whatever company you claim to run. His words are meant to wound, but Michael steps forward, his presence filling the space, Harvard-trained discipline radiating from him. Medova is hardly imaginary, he states firmly. The medical technology conference in Boston last month featured your daughter as the keynote speaker. Her monitoring systems are deployed in over 27 hospitals nationwide. The ripple of recognition is immediate. A guest nearby turns, his face lighting with recognition of the company name. Across the room, my mother hovers frantically near Grace, desperate to divert Daniel's colleagues. Her hands flutter with nervous energy, but it is too late. The connections are already sparking across the ballroom, the name Amelia Collins whispered from one professional to another. Beside me, Leo tugs on my hand. Mom, can I have cake now? You promised. In just a moment, sweetheart, I murmur. His gaze shifts past me, curiosity flickering in his young eyes. Is that lady your sister? Does she go to Stanford like you did? Father's complexion drains to ashen gray. Before he can intervene, Leo continues. All innocence. You showed me pictures from your college days. I liked the red brick buildings. Grace has drifted closer, Daniel at her side. At Leo's words, her expression freezes. Stanford? Daniel repeats, looking sharply between us. You went to Stanford as well, Amelia? Class of 2014. I answer evenly. Another physician, a distinguished cardiologist, turns toward Daniel with raised brows. You didn't mention that your wife's sister was Amelia Collins. Her predictive algorithm research has reshaped post-surgical care. Northwestern has reduced readmission rates by more than 22% using her systems. The weight of 11 years of falsehood settles visibly upon Grace. Her hand clutches Daniel's sleeve, but he steps slightly back, his attention riveted on the conversation that now orbits around me. In my mind, rain lashes against my dorm window, the memory sharp as glass. I recall staring at a bank statement. The numbers incomprehensible. My college fund drained, siphoned into an account I didn't recognize. That same week, a package arrived from Grace, photographs of her smiling on the beaches of Cancun, a trip our family somehow afforded while I faced ruin. I drag myself back to the present. From across the ballroom, I watch Daniel lean close to Grace, their whispered argument sharp enough to be read in the taut lines of their faces. His voice grows edged with disbelief. You told me you graduated from Stanford. I went there. I never once heard your name. Grace stammers, frantic. It was a remote program, a special track. His reply is icier than the champagne in my glass. Stanford medicine has never offered remote degrees. His words are final, unyielding. Color drains from Grace's cheeks. Her eyes flick desperately from Daniel to our parents. To me, as if searching for escape. Daniel steps back, adjusting his tie with deliberate calm. The decision already etched into his movements. His shoes click against the marble floor as he walks away from her, each step echoing with rejection. Grace's eyes follow him, wide and drowning, while he heads directly toward me. His hand brushes my elbow, guiding me gently from the spotlight of the ballroom. Though his posture is composed, the faint tremor in his fingers betrays him. Let's find somewhere quieter, he says. His voice steady, but his gaze drawn repeatedly back toward the huddled figures of Grace and my parents. Their heads bent together in frantic, urgent counsel. We slip into a small alcove at the far edge of the room. 2 plush chairs and a small table wait beneath muted lighting. Shadows falling in soft relief across Daniel's strained face. He exhales, adjusting his bow tie once again. I apologize for all of this, for the awkwardness, he begins, his words halting as he searches for footing, then silence stretches, weighted with questions too heavy to name. You didn't know Grace had a sister, I finished for him. My tone carefully balanced, neutral yet steady. Daniel's eyes widened, surprise flickering across his face as he replied, She mentioned a sister once, but told me you dropped out of college after just 1 semester. She said you couldn't handle the pressure and disappeared. The words sting like salt pressed into an old wound. But I keep my expression unyielding. Years of negotiating in corporate boardrooms taught me how to keep my features calm even when the past cuts deep enough to draw blood. I graduated summa cum laude, I said quietly, each word deliberate, while working 3 jobs to keep myself afloat. His brow furrowed. 3 jobs? He repeated, disbelief etched into his tone. Yes, I continued. Mornings spent at a cramped coffee shop, evenings behind the reception desk at the hospital, weekends filled with endless calls at a center that drained every ounce of energy. The memories rushed back, bone-deep exhaustion, nights spent nodding off over thick textbooks, yet never letting go of that relentless push forward. I put myself through school part-time, without a cent of family support. Each word I spoke landed heavy, like stones dropping into water, sending ripples that disturbed the calm facade between us. Daniel's confusion gave way to calculation, the sharpened mind of a surgeon piecing together facts as though I were a puzzle misrepresented to him for years. Stanford? He asked carefully, naming his prestigious alma mater. I shook my head slowly. Community college first, then State University. That was all I could afford. I couldn't pay for Stanford after discovering my college fund had been. I let the sentence trail off, the pause intentional. Daniel's sharp intellect filled the silence. Reallocated to Grace's education, he finished for me, the realization cutting through the air like a blade. The ballroom seemed to dissolve at the edges as memories flooded back 6 long months of sleeping on Sarah's lumpy couch, mornings showering at the YWCA, after Jaime's boyfriend had thrown me out, surviving on ramen for weeks, to scrape together enough for textbooks, humiliation piled high, begging professors for extensions when exhaustion from triple shifts left me unable to keep my eyes open. The hospital where I worked at reception, I said softly. That's where I met Michael. The memory shimmered with startling clarity. One night, hunched over healthcare administration diagrams during a stolen dinner break, exhaustion tugging at my eyes. Michael stopped at my desk. Curious, you understand Kellerman's patient flow theory? He asked, clearly surprised. It's flawed, I had replied without lifting my gaze. The real bottleneck isn't intake, it's the documentation requirements between departments. He pulled up a chair, intrigued, and we spoke until my break ended, his questions sparking something in me I thought I had buried. The very next day he brought me coffee and more questions. Soon our conversations turned into brainstorming sessions, and within months, we were sketching the earliest prototypes of the system that would later become Medova's signature product. Daniel leaned forward now, his eyes narrowing with dawning recognition. And Medova? Grace told me you just worked some small office job. I couldn't stop the wry smile tugging at my lips. We started in our tiny apartment 7 years ago. Last quarter alone, our revenue was just under 400 million. And, across the room, I spotted my parents shadowing Grace like anxious sentinels. Dennis paced tight circles, his face flushed an angry red, while Margaret clutched Grace's arm so tightly her knuckles had blanched. Their whispers cut through the air even across the distance. They'll try to break this up soon, I murmured evenly, my gaze unwavering. Daniel followed my line of sight, his expression tightening. Sure enough, Michael approached, his phone angled casually at his side, though I recognized the strategy immediately. Subtle documentation, a protective measure honed over years of hostile encounters in business. Everything all right here? He asked, his surgeon's eyes scanning me with swift precision. Just catching up, I answered, warmth rising in my chest at the sight of him, this man who had stood beside me through every storm, who saw me for who I was, not the version my family invented for their convenience. Right on cue? Margaret bustled toward us, her voice pitched unnaturally high. Daniel, someone from Boston General is dying to meet you. Her gaze slid over me as if I were invisible, a trick I had grown far too familiar with, but Daniel didn't budge. In a moment, Margaret, Amelia and I are having an important conversation. My mother's smile froze, her eyes sharpening into icy needles. Always the attention seeker, Amelia, she sneered before pivoting to a nearby group of guests. She's always been jealous of her sister's accomplishments. Her words hung in the air, acrid and suffocating, prompting uneasy shuffles among the listeners. I remained composed, back straight, face calm, Michael's steady hand anchoring me with its quiet strength. When I slipped into the bathroom nearly 20 minutes later, I wasn't surprised to find Grace already there, pressing trembling hands against her cheeks as she reapplied smudged mascara. Our eyes met in the mirror, a collision of truths neither of us could escape. "Why are you doing this to me?" she demanded, her voice cracking at the final word. I washed my hands with deliberate calm, my reflection steady. "Doing what exactly?" I asked. "Ruining my wedding. Making Daniel question everything." Tears streaked down her meticulously painted face. "I'm not doing anything," I replied softly, my tone almost gentle. "I'm simply existing." Grace slammed her mascara wand against the marble, her fury spilling over. "You were supposed to stay gone." But for the first time, I saw the fear behind her anger. The sheer terror of watching a carefully constructed house of cards begin to fall apart. Her words tumbled out like a confession. "They told everyone you dropped out. That you couldn't handle the responsibility, that you were, and yet here I am," I interrupted, my voice quiet but resolute. "Handling more than you ever imagined. And of you aroused, and of you aroused, and of you were at. They told everyone you dropped dead." When I step out of the bathroom, my composure remains firmly intact, as though no storm had ever passed. I return to Michael's side, his warm hand instantly seeking mine, grounding me. Grace follows moments later, her makeup carefully refreshed, though something vital has fractured behind her eyes. I recognize it immediately, the subtle but undeniable shift in her presence. The air in the room seems to sense it too. Guests begin to drift gradually toward us, curiosity pulling them closer like a tide. A neurosurgeon animatedly discusses patient monitoring innovations with Michael. A hospital administrator slips me her business card, her words tinged with admiration. "Your post-operative monitoring system cut our complication rates by nearly 30%. We'd love to talk about expanding its reach." Daniel remains close at my elbow, listening intently, asking thoughtful questions about Modova's technology. Meanwhile, his new bride hovers uneasily at the edge, her smile rigid. My father pushes forward, his shoulders squared, his voice deliberately loud. "Daniel, this is Grace's wedding, let's keep the focus on her accomplishments." The hush that follows spreads heavy across the ballroom. Eyes flicker between Daniel and Dennis, then to Grace, whose stretched smile trembles under the weight of silence. No words are spoken, but none are necessary. Sometimes silence contains more truth than any carefully crafted statement. I set my half-empty champagne flute onto a passing tray and glance at my watch. We have stayed long enough. Across the room, Michael disentangles himself from an eager orthopedic surgeon. Our eyes meet, and his subtle nod confirms what I already know: we are in sync, as always. "Are we leaving now?" Leo tugs at my hand, his eyes bright with hope. "Pool time?" "Yes, buddy," I whisper. "Just one more thing." From my clutch, I pull out a small cream-colored envelope. Inside lies a certificate for shares of Modova stock. Not a fortune, but enough to make a statement. Enough to show the woman I've become. Michael joins me then, his hand settling at the small of my back, his presence steady. "Ready?" he asks. "Almost," I reply. I scan the room for Daniel. The man deserves courtesy, even if his new in-laws do not. I spot him near the bar, his gaze fixed on Grace with an expression I know too well, the creeping doubt where certainty should live. I approach with Michael at my side. Grace glides through the room with practiced charm, but I notice the flinch in her posture when conversations drift toward medical terms, how swiftly she diverts them elsewhere. I offer Daniel the envelope. "We're heading out. Congratulations again." He accepts it warmly, Thank you for being here, he says, his eyes sliding briefly toward my parents circling nearby like restless predators. I appreciate it. Truly. And I believe him. Closing this chapter matters more than I realized. Daniel leans in slightly, lowering his voice. I'd like to visit Moldova sometime. Professionally, of course. Our eyes meet, and in that instant, an understanding passes between us, wordless but certain. He may not know everything yet, but he knows enough. My assistant will arrange it, I reply, offering him my card. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Grace watching. Her smile cracking like old porcelain under the weight of reality. My mother glides closer, social armor polished to a shine. With deliberate sweetness, she addresses a guest nearby. Amelia was always so driven. Of course, she had advantages we could never provide Grace. The lie would have pierced me once. Now, it borders on absurd. Michael's voice cuts in, soft but edged. What advantages were those, Mrs. Collins? The 3 jobs she worked to put herself through night classes? Or the nights she spent on friends' couches after you drained her tuition fund? My mother's face hardens, but too many ears are already listening. Daniel's colleagues glance knowingly, murmurs spreading. Mom? Aren't those people your family? Leo asks innocently, his small voice ringing louder than any accusation. The question stills the room, devastating in its simplicity. I kneel to his level, brushing his hair back. They're relatives, sweetheart. Family is something different. My father puffs up, his chest swelling as it once did when he could cow me with sheer presence. You can't just waltz back into our lives. I'm not interested in walking back into anything, I reply, my voice calm, each word a blade of finality. I'm not here to expose you, and I'm not here to reconcile. I built my life without you, exactly as you forced me to when you shut the door in my face. The image bursts unbidden into my mind. Rain drenching my jacket, a suitcase weighing down my arm, the suffocating freedom of having nothing left to lose. Leo fidgets with his bow tie, the innocence of his gesture pulling me back to the present. Michael rests a reassuring hand on our son's shoulder, studying him with the same quiet intensity he once studied me, when I thought I would drown under the weight of it all. Thank you, I say to my parents. They blink, startled, uncomprehending. Thank you for refusing me a chance. You made me build my own. My mother's face twists, torn between fury and the necessity of appearances. For once, she cannot find words. I take Leo's hand, Michael falling into step beside us as we walk out unhurried, dignified, complete. No grand speeches, no scenes of reconciliation, only the profound strength of walking away whole. Whispers rise behind us like soft rainfall. But unlike that night more than 11 years ago, they do not touch me. I have built an umbrella of accomplishment strong enough to shield me from their storms, a canopy of resilience that no longer wavers under their shadow. In the lobby, Leo slips from my grasp and spins with unrestrained joy, his laughter echoing against the marble walls. Pool time, he declares. Michael tousles his hair with gentle affection. 10 minutes to change, then I'll meet you there, he promises. As we cross toward the elevators, I catch our reflection in the polished stone 3 figures, steady and unbreakable, bound together as a family. Through the ballroom doors behind us, I glimpse Daniel watching our departure, his eyes fixed with quiet intensity before he turns back to his new bride. Yet his expression carries questions, ones that will not vanish quickly. Some weddings celebrate beginnings, but this one feels like an ending. For me, it is the release of expectations I never asked to meet, the severing of approval I no longer crave, and the shedding of pain I refuse to carry forward into the life I've built. Leo presses the elevator button with fierce determination. Up we go, he says with delight. Yes, up we go indeed, I echo softly. Weeks later, sunlight streams through the floor to ceiling windows of my office, stretching long shadows across the polished concrete floor. A full month has passed since Grace's wedding, yet the memory lingers, surfacing like an unwelcome dream in quiet corners of my mind. On my desk rests a proposal from Boston Memorial, a contract worth 8 figures. Modova's patient monitoring system had reduced post-surgical complications by nearly 37% in their trial. Numbers do not lie, and unlike people, they do not choose sides. The intercom crackles. Meredith's voice carries through. "Dr. Daniel Brooks is here to see you." My pen stills. I have not spoken to my sister's husband since that night. "Send him in," I reply. Daniel enters slowly. His movements weighed down by something unseen. His suit jacket is creased at the elbows, his shoulders rounded forward, dark shadows bruising the skin beneath his eyes. "Thank you for seeing me without an appointment," he says, awkwardly shifting until I gesture to the chair across from me. "Coffee?" I offer. He shakes his head. "I can't stay long." I remain silent, waiting. Silence, I've learned, often speaks louder than any words. Finally, he exhales. "I've consulted with a lawyer about annulment. Everything Grace told me was a lie. She never went to Stanford. She never managed your parents' clinic. She's just the receptionist." His voice falters under the weight of the truth. I absorb the confession without flinching. The lies were always waiting, ready to unravel under the slightest scrutiny. "I'm sorry," I murmur. "And I mean it." His gaze hardens. "Your parents propped her up as the face of their practice while they—" His words trail off, his hand raking through his hair, "while they manipulated the billing. They've been charging Medicare for procedures never performed, using outdated codes on purpose. Grace helped them." The revelation lands with the sting of confirmation. Not shocking, only inevitable. He sighs. "I didn't mean to drag you back into this. But when I began digging into Grace's past, I found inconsistencies. Your name kept surfacing in the old records. And then it disappeared. Almost 12 years ago. Outside my office window, the skyline shimmers under the summer heat. I built this view from nothing while they built their lives on fraud. They used my college fund for Grace. I say simply, when I confronted them, they told me I wasn't Stanford material anyway. Daniel winces, shame flickering in his eyes. The irony is, I never wanted to be a doctor. My dream was to improve the systems, to make them more efficient and precise. His gaze sweeps the room. And you did exactly that. Modova is transforming care across the country. Silence stretches between us, not uncomfortable, but steeped in truth. At last, he admits. The clinic is being investigated. I submitted evidence anonymously after uncovering the fraud. They've been doing this for nearly 15 years since the time you left for college. My phone buzzes with a text from Michael. Picking up Leo early, Zoo Day. Join us. Warmth blooms in my chest. This Michael and Leo? This is my real family now. I glance at Daniel. What will you do? He straightens his shoulders. Weariness giving way to resolve. File for annulment. Cooperate with the investigators and begin again. He hesitates before adding, I came to apologize for unintentionally drawing you back into this and to ask, do you plan to get involved in the investigation? The weight of his question hangs heavy. With a single call to the authorities, as the CEO of Modova, I could accelerate everything and destroy them completely. But my answer is clear. Number I built my life apart from theirs, and I intend to keep it that way. Relief softens his face. He thanks me and leaves, his footsteps fading down the hall. I stand at the window, watching traffic weave 40 stories below. A city alive with movement. My phone vibrates again, a voicemail from Grace, the third this week. Her number glows on the screen like a ghost that refuses to vanish. As I gather my things to meet Michael and Leo at the zoo, his voice comes gently through the line. You sound tired. Daniel Brooks came to see me. I reply evenly. The family clinic is under investigation for Medicare fraud. A pause. "Are you okay?" he asks softly. I take a breath, surprised by the steadiness of my own voice. "Yes," I answer and realize it is the absolute truth. I let Michael's question linger. "Are you going to get involved?" My eyes follow a red-tailed hawk gliding effortlessly between skyscrapers carried by invisible thermals. I think of what he told me last week, that my very success is already the sharpest punishment for those who tried to erase me. He still believes it. "But it's your choice," he adds gently. My computer chimes, an incoming email from an attorney representing the Medicare Fraud Division. Attached are official documents requesting my testimony. Pages that tether me back to the Collins Clinic. "They want me to testify," I murmur aloud. Michael studies me quietly. "What will you do?" For a moment, the thought of deleting the message tempts me, refusing the pull of the past. Letting whatever comes for them unfold, without my hand guiding it. But then I remember the patients, the elderly men and women who trusted the clinic with their care while their benefits were siphoned away. "I'll send them copies of the original records I kept from my time there," I decide at last. "Just the facts, nothing more." Michael's hand tightens around mine. "I'm proud of you." My phone buzzes again, another voicemail from Grace. The first begged for money. The second threatened to expose secrets to Leo. I don't bother with the third. I delete it unread, the act small but decisive. Michael's voice cuts through the heaviness. "Leo wants to see the new tiger cubs at the zoo." Relief spreads through me. "Tell him I'm on my way." I collect my bag and glance back once at my office, where the Boston Memorial contract lies waiting, another milestone for the system I built out of long nights and sheer determination. Then I close the door, leaving Grace's voice behind in digital silence where it belongs. Some debts are beyond repayment, and some wounds never completely close. But moving forward does not always require forgiveness. Sometimes it only requires the strength to let go. 6 months slip by, each one lighter than the last, like stepping out of shoes that never quite fit. In the garden, I pinch back wilted blooms, the purple coneflowers bending eagerly toward the Sunday. Leo races between the raised beds, his Batman cape flying behind him. "Mom, can I water the tomatoes?" he asks, his excitement bubbling. "Start with the peppers," I tell him, pointing to their drooping leaves. "They need the water more today." He grips his little watering can with both hands, his tongue sticking out as he carefully tips it, determined not to spill. The mid-May sun warms my shoulders through a soft cotton t-shirt. No designer dress here, just comfort and belonging in my own space. Michael appears at the patio door, balancing 3 glasses of lemonade on a tray. "Reinforcements," he announces with a grin, descending the steps. His steady surgeon's hands, the same ones that repair fragile hearts, now present a drink to our son with playful flourish. "Thank you, good sir," Leo declares with a dramatic bow that nearly topples his cup. Michael's eyes find mine over Leo's head, a quiet understanding passing between us. This is what matters. Not the ballroom battles, not the lies of the past, but this garden, this boy, this home we shaped from nothing but truth. Michael adds almost casually, "The Davis Hospital Board approved Modova's system." We both know the weight behind his words, the 5th major hospital chain this year. Thousands more patients whose recoveries will be safer. "That's number 5. Leo says proudly, counting on his fingers. "Mom's helping sick people get better faster." I ruffle his hair, heart swelling at his certainty. Then the doorbell rings inside. Michael arches an eyebrow. "Expecting anyone?" "Probably FedEx," I reply. "The new component samples from Switzerland." But when he returns, his expression has changed. In his hand rests a certified letter, the return address clear even from a distance. Grace Collins Brooks. My stomach knots. I retreat to my office with it. The envelope sits unopened for 17 long minutes while I review quarterly projections. Michael leans silently against the doorframe, patient, unspoken support. Finally, I tear it open. A single sheet of cream-colored stationery slips out, Grace's careful handwriting spilling across it. Amelia, it begins. The clinic closed last month. Not because of you, but because of everything Mom and Dad did. Investigators uncovered billing fraud dating back over 15 years. Daniel left me. He said trust was impossible. He was right. I'm not asking for money. I know better now. I only need you to know you were never the problem. I was raised to see your intelligence as a threat, your independence as dangerous. I believed them when they said cutting you off was necessary. I was wrong. They were wrong. And I'm sorry. Grace. I fold the letter slowly, sliding it back into its envelope. Michael doesn't ask what it says. He simply waits until I meet his gaze. What will you do? He asks. Nothing dramatic, I reply. I turn to my computer, type steadily, print a single page, and place it into a Moldova envelope alongside the letter I've written. 2 weeks later, I stand at the edge of the American Medical Technology Conference in Chicago. The Moldova booth draws a crowd, our reputation carrying ahead of us now. Out of the corner of my eye, I catch movement someone in pale blue scrubs near the education pavilion. Grace. Her hair pulled back simply, listening intently to a speaker on entry-level medical coding certification. Our eyes meet across the crowded hall. No gasps, no scene, just quiet recognition. She clutches the Moldova internship application I mailed her, holding it tightly as if it were a lifeline. I nod acknowledgement. Not forgiveness, but something. She nods back, her eyes glinting with a fragile determination. We do not cross the space between us. Some relationships are not meant to be rebuilt, but completed. That evening, I finalized the Collins First-Generation Medical Scholarship not in honor of my parents, but reclaiming the name for something worthy. 20 students without family support will receive full tuition and mentorship next fall. Back home, I kneel again in the soil of our garden, planting tender seedlings. Leo helps, his small fingers patting earth gently around new roots. Some plants can't grow too close to others, I explain. They need space to thrive. He tilts his head. Like people? Exactly, I whisper, kissing his forehead. The golden evening light pours across our yard. Through the kitchen window, I glimpse Michael preparing dinner, moving with ease through the home we built together. I press another seed into the soil, covering it with care. Some roots you inherit. Others you choose.